Have you ever wondered what truly happens inside a man's heart and mind in the most intimate moments? Behind the surface of passion and physical connection, something far deeper unfolds. Something few men ever put into words. According to Carl Jung's profound understanding of the psyche, intimacy is not just an act of desire. It's a psychological and spiritual threshold, where the outer mask, the persona, meets the inner shadow, and where the conscious self is confronted by its hidden fears, hopes, and longings. In moments of closeness, Jung believed that both man and woman come face to face with the unconscious. But for men in particular, this moment can reveal the most secret layers of their emotional world, layers that even they might not understand. Beneath the appearance of confidence and control, there is often a silent storm of vulnerability, fear, and longing. This video explores the 5 hidden Jungian layers of male experience during intimacy: power and vulnerability, validation, bonding, fear and love, and identity and presence, and reveals how these layers shape not only his emotions, but the very nature of love itself. 1. Power and vulnerability. In the first moments of physical connection, a man often feels a powerful mixture of strength and fragility. On one hand, he feels chosen, desired, accepted, and validated in his masculinity. There's a surge of ancient instinct, a sense of pride that he has been trusted to cross into such a sacred and personal space. This affirmation touches something deep and primal within him, the archetype of the lover and the warrior, the part of him that wants to give, protect, and prove his worth. Yet almost at the same instant, another feeling rises: vulnerability. He becomes acutely aware of his fragility, of the possibility that he might not measure up to her expectations. Beneath his confident exterior lies the quiet question that almost every man carries in his heart. Am I enough? This inner paradox and the tension between power and vulnerability is often invisible on the outside. A man might act strong, dominant, or self-assured, but deep within, the fear of inadequacy whispers. Carl Jung would describe this as the collision of the persona and the shadow. The persona is the mask he wears for the world, composed, capable, masculine, while the shadow hides his insecurities, doubts, and fears of rejection. When he enters into intimacy, these two collide, creating emotional turbulence that even he might not fully understand. For some men, this fear manifests as overconfidence or bravado. They exaggerate their strength or performance as armor, trying to silence the inner voice of doubt. For others, intimacy opens the door to vulnerability. These men soften, hold their partners longer, and crave emotional closeness beyond the physical act. They dare to be seen as they truly are. Women often misread this complex reaction. When a man becomes distant after intimacy, it's not always disinterest. It can be a form of emotional recovery. He's trying to rebuild his mask, to protect himself from feeling too exposed. When he feels safe and accepted, however, he moves toward deeper connection. In that safety, he integrates both his power and his tenderness, taking another step toward what Jung called individuation, the process of becoming whole. 2. Validation. The second layer reveals another powerful truth. Many men unconsciously experience intimacy as validation. The act itself becomes proof that they are desirable, worthy, and capable. In those moments, being accepted by a woman feels like evidence that they belong, that they matter. However, as Jung would point out, this form of validation is unstable because it depends entirely on external approval. When a man ties his sense of worth to the act of intimacy, he begins to chase proof rather than connection. A man often looks to his partner's reactions for reassurance. The sound of her breath, the softness of her eyes, the way her body responds. All of these become silent signs that tell him whether he is enough. When she seems distant or unmoved, doubt floods in. His inner shadow whispers that he has failed, that he is not desirable or adequate. This is not a sign of weakness, but of human vulnerability. Every man has within him several archetypes: the lover who seeks affirmation, the hero who wants victory, and the child who craves comfort and approval. When these archetypes are unbalanced, they can drive a man to seek validation through repeated encounters or through domination, always trying to prove something he secretly doubts. For women, understanding this layer can prevent confusion and pain. It explains why some men seem obsessed with their partner's reactions, or why they withdraw if they don't receive certain emotional signals. The truth is that he isn't only seeking pleasure, he's unconsciously asking for affirmation of his worth. Yet Jung's teaching also frees both partners. You cannot heal another's shadow through constant reassurance. Real connection arises when both people bring awareness to their insecurities and meet each other authentically. Validation is natural, but when it becomes the only goal, it enslaves both hearts. True intimacy happens when presence, not performance, defines the moment. 3. Dissolving walls and the bonding instinct. The third layer explores something both biological and spiritual, the dissolving of emotional walls. From a scientific perspective, physical intimacy releases oxytocin and dopamine, chemicals that create attachment and pleasure. These are the same hormones that bond mothers to infants, linking love and comfort at a biological level. But Jung would say this is only the surface. On a symbolic level, intimacy represents the merging of opposites, masculine and feminine, conscious and unconscious, persona and shadow. When a man and woman unite, something in the psyche recognizes this as a symbolic return to wholeness. This is why intimacy can feel overwhelming, even haunting. A man may believe an encounter was casual, yet find himself thinking about her long afterward. His body and unconscious have imprinted her presence. In Jungian terms, he has met his anima, the inner feminine aspect of his soul. The woman becomes more than herself. She becomes a mirror reflecting the missing part of his inner world. This explains why some men keep returning to the same woman, even when logic says they should move on. It's not always obsession or manipulation. It's often the unconscious seeking completion. However, if he mistakes this inner pull for ownership or control, it becomes unhealthy attachment. If he denies it altogether, pretending the bond doesn't exist, he scatters his energy in meaningless encounters, haunted by memories he cannot explain. For women, recognizing this dynamic brings wisdom. You are not responsible for healing his soul or managing his attachments, but you can understand the depth of what might be happening within him. Intimacy, when seen through Jung's lens, is not just a meeting of bodies, it's a meeting of souls, where both people are called to face their inner truth. 4. The battle between fear and love. The fourth layer reveals one of the most powerful truths about men. Intimacy awakens both fear and love at once. A man may approach intimacy thinking it's only physical, that he can remain detached or casual. But the unconscious doesn't obey logic. Once he crosses that threshold, deeper emotions begin to stir. Fear often comes first. There's the fear of not being enough, the fear of being forgotten, and the fear of being compared to others. Jung would describe these as whispers from the shadow, the part of the psyche that carries insecurity, shame, and inadequacy. Intimacy shines a bright light into this hidden place, forcing a man to confront what he has long suppressed. Yet as fear surfaces, love quietly follows. The anima awakens, turning the woman before him into a mirror of his soul. Suddenly, she is no longer just a partner, but a reflection of his inner world. This is why men who swear they want nothing serious often find themselves unexpectedly attached. The rational mind wants control, but the heart begins to open. This creates an emotional tug of war. One part of him wants to retreat, to protect himself from the vulnerability that love brings. Another part longs to stay, to feel safe, to surrender. This is why his behavior may appear inconsistent, pulling away one day, then returning more tenderly the next. It's not hypocrisy, it's an inner struggle between fear and love. Jung believed that real growth begins when we integrate these opposing forces instead of running from them. When a man accepts both his fear and his love, intimacy transforms from a battlefield into a place of healing. It becomes not a test of masculinity, but a path toward wholeness. For women, understanding this paradox brings compassion. When a man withdraws after closeness, it might not mean emptiness, but overwhelm. When he clings, it might not mean weakness, but deep attachment. Awareness helps transform confusion into empathy, and from empathy, true intimacy can grow. 5. Identity and presence. The final layer concerns how intimacy shapes a man's identity and self-awareness. In the past, masculinity was defined by dominance, conquest, and legacy. Emotional depth was often hidden beneath cultural expectations. But in modern relationships, a man's sense of self is far more connected to how he experiences love and emotional connection. When a man enters intimacy, he is not only sharing his body, he is also confronting his identity. How he is received by his partner can either affirm or fracture his inner confidence. A look, a touch, or a few words afterward can hold immense power. Warmth and acceptance can make him feel whole and seen. Coldness or indifference can awaken old wounds of rejection. Jung emphasized presence, being fully conscious in the moment, as a key to authentic living. When a man is truly present during intimacy, he experiences a reflection of his deeper self. This awareness can help him grow emotionally, but only if he stays connected to it afterward. If he bases his entire identity on his partner's reactions, he risks dependency. But if he dismisses her presence entirely, he becomes detached and hollow. The healthy balance lies in individuation, recognizing that a partner's presence matters deeply, yet one's sense of worth must come from within. For women, this awareness offers gentle power. A small gesture, a word of gratitude, a lingering touch, or simply staying close can affirm his humanity. This doesn't mean carrying his self-worth, but acknowledging that intimacy lingers beyond the physical. The way she responds can help him feel safe enough to integrate his shadow instead of hiding from it. Ultimately, intimacy reshapes identity. It's never just physical, it's a psychological and spiritual mirror reflecting who we truly are. The journey toward wholeness. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Nowhere is this more evident than in intimacy. When a man joins with a woman, he steps into a sacred space where both his strength and fragility rise to the surface. He faces his need for validation, his fear of rejection, his longing for love, and his struggle for self-acceptance. Every intimate experience becomes an opportunity for growth or avoidance, for integration or fragmentation. For women, understanding these layers offers liberation. When he withdraws, it might be from emotional overwhelm, not coldness. When he holds on too tightly, it may be from love that frightens him. Seeing beyond the behavior allows for compassion without self-sacrifice. For men, awareness is the key to freedom. When they acknowledge fear without shame, accept love without control, and allow intimacy to reshape identity, they move closer to their authentic selves. Intimacy, in Jung's view, is never just about pleasure. It's about transformation. It's a mirror that reflects both shadow and light, both wounds and healing. When two souls meet consciously, they awaken each other not just to passion, but to truth.